increasing in abdominal girth, vomiting, and of course, if the patient is admitted, the placement of lines and tubes. Okay, I have here 3 X-ray images, frontal view of the abdomen. Different ages. Okay, let's start with the 3-day-old. You should know that I always smoke. Okay? Wala bang microphone na umiikot? Okay, let's start with the first image, the 3-day-old X-ray of the abdomen. Alcohol, doctor with a silver water bottle and gray jacket. Yes, doctor, would you like to describe this abdomen X-ray, abdomen X-ray of the 3-day-old?
This one, from what I can see, this way. However, from what I can see, yung
Jericho, very good. Yes, it is not expected for even a radiologist to differentiate the colon from the small intestine in a X-ray or abdominal X-ray for neonates. Okay, neonates, 1 month and below. Thank you. Congratulations, very good. So it is expected that you cannot differentiate those two structures. Okay? So here, for the 1-month-old, still it would be very difficult to differentiate still. So the difficulty of differentiating the small from the large intestine would be for ages 1 year and below. Medyo mahirap, no? So don't expect sa exam nyo na ipapa-identify ko ang small and large intestine sa images. It would be unfair. So, it's good for you to know na yan, pag nasa ER rotation kayo, hindi natin ma-differentiate yung small from the large, but they are all distended, it could be ileus, it could be signs of beginning obstruction. Okay? But that's for the clinical side. And this, children 1 year and up usually have a very good differentiation of the large intestine from the small intestine. That's the time that you would say, oh, you can identify the colon, you can identify the small intestines. Okay? 1 year and up. In this patient, you would see that the colon already has this areas of lucencies and areas of densities. These are the fecal materials. You know that you are looking at the colon. The center may or may not have intestinal tract. Okay? But the colon always has intestinal tract. Okay, guys? So, highlight, different ages would have different appearance of the abdomen on X-ray. Okay. the older child, more than 1 year old, what are the specific anatomy sites that we would like to highlight? Okay? So, take a good look at this image, frontal radiograph of the abdomen, showing here the spine. And okay guys, for the orientation on abdominal x-ray, this is the right side, this is the left side. So what to expect on the right side? Of course, the liver. What to expect on the left side? The spleen and the overlying, this one here. The lucent structure, that's the stomach, the gastric bubble. Okay? The center is the spine. And of course, these are the pelvic bones. Okay, now, let's go add on a schematic to help you identify the proper structures. Okay, the liver, this is the liver here, liver shuttle. The right and left kidneys, it is, nasasanay din ang mata nyo, but it is faintly delineated as the right and the left. Okay? And then you would see oblique bands of density that would represent the psoas. Okay. The density overlapping with the gastric bubble is this. Okay? And then the density within the pelvic inlet, outlet is the urinary bladder. Doctora, would you ask this in the exam? Yes. I would give images in the exam and I would ask you to identify the structures. Okay? This is very easy, guys. Okay. Another use of the abdominal x-ray. Well, this is a neonate. In a neonate, sa isang kuha, abot na hanggang chest. So, one x-ray plate, sakot na lahat. From neck to chest to abdomen. So, one important use of the x-ray here is that aside from seeing the bowel gas pattern, the stomach, the liver, you can see the placement of the tubes and catheters. In this case, this is an endotracheal tube, umbilical venous catheter, umbilical venous artery catheter. Could I include this in the exam? Hindi ko naman ipapa-identify ang catheters. But it is enough for you to know that aside from evaluating the abdominal structures, X-ray is requested for placements of lines and tubes. Okay. Wala tayo ulit. Si Doktora in red. Alam naman natin. Ay, Doktora, halika dito. So these are two abdominal images. One is supine and one in upright views. Okay, Doktora, hello, what's your name? Dr. Isabella is coming to you. Yes. Hi. So this is a graph frontal, supine, and upright. Normal or abnormal?
Masyadong marami. Okay lang yan. Medyo malaki yan. Tagal, tagal na. Ay, wait. Okay, hindi mo kasi.
So she is correct in saying that in this anticipate you will select external sentence or related. Okay? You know that this is that these are small intestines because you can see the fine markings. They are the valvulae conventris. For the small intestines, the fine markings that you see on the radiograph, those are valvulae conventris. But for the colon, they are house or constellations. Okay? So what you see here, these dilated segments of valvulae conventris, they are small intestines. And then on the upright view, air is lucent, meaning air is dark. And that line there, those are air fluid levels. And those represent signs of obstruction. So definitely this is a very good example of possible intestinal obstruction. Okay? But our focus here is more on the anatomy. And I'm just saying to you that in real life, you will encounter this. Okay? Obstruct markings and valvulae conventris should be differentiated or can be differentiated on X-ray. And I might add that in this. Okay. Natawag tayo ulit. Sige. Sa harap ni Dr. Jericho. Sasabi na ang harap ni Dr. Jericho is the space. No, it's you. Okay. Pointed by the arrow, okay? Could you identify what is being pointed by the arrow?
No. Ayun yung 5-6. Dalawa. Sakto na lang sa Juliet. Next to Nagalit. Okay na lang, hindi siya lang mamalaki. Hindi naman siya mamalaki. Okay lang.
Thank you so much. Very honest that he was able to identify the lucent, faint lucent structure at the mid-abdomen. This is an emergency. This is free air within the abdominal cavity. And free air can really be very subtle. So, it's okay. Kaya nga first year pa lang, inumpisa na natin ang radiology. But as you get promoted, you get shorter vision. Okay? So, very good still. That is a new very promote, very subtle. Guys, it is not required for you to request cross-table lateral if the pneumoperitorium is that obvious. For radiologists, it's obvious. But if there are some questions or doubts, the next thing that we should request is a cross-table lateral. And that would better define the free air. free air is described as a pocket of loosened steel on top or on the non-dependent portion. The back is the dependent portion, and the top of the abdomen is the non-dependent portion. It is air, it is very light, so you would expect it to rise up. Okay? That's why cross-table lateral is the view that should be requested if there's still doubt. Okay? Malinaw questions. Kahit gano'ng kaliit ang pneumoperitoneum, you can still see it, especially on cross-table. Okay? So, again, in radiography, I would like you to remember the anatomy. Okay? The solid organs, the elevation of the small and large intestines, the psoas. Okay? That's what I need you to know. Okay? We'll go now to fluoroscopy machines. Fluoroscopy is very important because we need real-time imaging of certain pathologies. Okay? How many fluoro machines do we have? Four brand new fluoro machines in the center. And then, in the coming years, there's a bagong building with more. So we need more radiologists. Alright. Okay guys, so for fluoroscopy, we need to use contrast. And contrast would include barium, water-soluble contrast, or air. Now, there are different types of fluoroscopy. Barium swallow or esophagogram, upper GI series, with or without small bowel follow through, or barium enema. Okay guys, in the books, you can still see barium swallow, you can still see barium enema. But in the last 2 years, wala nang manufacture of barium. What we use are water-soluble contrast. So the name has been changed to water-soluble contrast swallow, or esophagogram, and then contrast enema. But the idea is the same. It's just that the barium is no longer being produced and marketed. But it's still the same. Okay. Let's start with upper GI with SIS or small intestinal polyp. The indications: vomiting, gastric outlet obstruction, patients with malrotation and volvulus. These are emergency entities, so we need to properly identify them using fluoroscopy. Obstruction, gastric tube placement, and then evaluation of gastric emptying and suspected reflux. So these are the indications. For upper GI series, there has to be preparation for the patient. And depending on the age, they are required to not eat or drink, depending on the age. Would I ask you this? Yes. Kasi, halimbawa, bigyan natin kayo ng case in the exam. A newborn requested by the pediatrician to undergo upper GI series. How many hours required for preparation? 1, 2, 3, 4 hours. So correct is 2 hours before the examination or 2 hours before fluoroscopy. And so on, depending on the age. Okay? Now, next, after discussing upper GI series, esophagogram. Madali lang ang esophagogram. You just evaluate the contrast flow along the entire esophagus. They are important in determining stenosis, dilatation, abnormal mobility, reflux of contrast through the esophagus, and foreign body na napiling ng bata na stuck. Okay? So those are the good uses of esophagogram. So these are the images that we are expected to see. Okay? The contrast is the one dark, And then we follow the flow through the entire esophagus down to the stomach. So these are images representing the esophagus. Okay. Guys, it is important for you to understand again the anatomy. Okay? Since you guys are taking pictures, I would expect you to study the specific anatomy. This is the schematic and this is the corresponding upper GI series anatomy. Okay? Baka magbigay tayo, identify na kayo. At least, ganun lang naman. Okay, guys? Why? Why is it important to identify the different segments? Because these are very important landmarks that will tell you, especially if there is obstruction. Saan yung obstruction mo? Pyloric canal. Pwede rin naman sa fourth part of the duodenum. Pwede rin naman siya at the duodenojejunal junction. So it depends, okay? So I would like you to be familiar with the uroscopic anatomy. At ito na yun. Okay? Okay, just a few more images showing to you a normal upper GI series. So this is the stomach, areas filled with contrast and air, and the smaller structures, again with valvulae convenientes. These are the duodenum. Okay. Okay, these schematics represent what to expect, the findings and their corresponding diagnosis. Okay, guys? So this one, let's start at the first image. This is the stomach filled with contrast, and then it will go to the right. The D1, D2 is the descending part of the duodenum. D3 is the crossing or the horizontally oriented segment of the duodenum, that is D3. And then it will go up again, that is the D4, to join the duodenojejunal junction. This is the normal. We always look for this when we are doing upper GI series. Now, the rest are deviations from the normal. This one, stomach, and then the duodenum. The duodenum didn't cross the midline from right to left. It didn't cross. It remained at the right. So this is an example of a malrotation. Okay? Malrotation in itself is not an emergency. Merong children who would grow up and not encounter any obstructive episodes, even though during their neonatal or infancy were diagnosed with malrotation. Okay? Malrotation becomes an emergency if it has a coinciding volvulus. But malrotation in itself is not an emergency. This third image is a schematic representing an emergency. Corkscrew configuration of the duodenum. This is volvulus. Okay. Fourth image, D. This one, there is an abrupt cut off of contrast along the duodenum. It could be an internal problem. There could be webs. There could be internal stenosis of the lumen, or it could be an external mass impinging on the lumen of the duodenum. No matter the reason, there is obstruction. And the last image, partial obstruction. Okay, it's just a spectrum of the image before the partial obstruction. Okay? So, again, normal upper GI series. So this is malposition or malrotation of the duodenojejunal junction. Surgery is not required. It is not necessary. Okay. So, this is a representative image of an upper GI series. This is a contrast filled stomach with the segments containing air. This is the duodenum. The duodenum should have crossed from right to left. Sa kanya, it stayed on the right, so this is a malposition or malrotated duodenum. Okay? Corkscrew duodenum, again, sinabi ko na ito ay emergency. It represents volvulus. How would it look like on a fluoroscopic study? So this is a 2-day-old neonate with bilious vomiting. Upper GI series shows a filled, contrast-filled stomach. And as you see, as we follow the duodenum, there is spiraling. Once we see the spiraling, natawagin na natin ang ating surgery friends. And it's in their hands. Surgery is the management for mid-gut volvulus, for volvulus. Okay, another example. Gusto ko ito yung corkscrew nito. Again, contrast filling the stomach and then contrast going to the duodenum. But instead of the usual crossing, it formed corkscrew. Again, emergency. Alright? So, questions? Kasi, mortal sin if we miss this. Questions? Wala. Dali lang tayo. Corkscrew appearance of contrast traveling through the duodenum would mean emergency. This is volvulus. Perfect na kayo lahat sa item na yun. Okay, next, complete duodenal obstruction. As you can see, contrast in the stomach flow to the duodenum, but there's no contrast after. Evidently, there's an obstruction. Example, mid-gut volvulus in a 4-day-old child showing walang corkscrew, pero may cut-off. Complete obstruction na yan. Again, the management is surgery. Okay, what if it's partial duodenal obstruction? Again, I've mentioned few causes. If there are extrinsic mass effect compressing onto the lumen of the duodenum, it could be Latz bands, it could be annular pancreas. They are congenital. The baby could have been born with it. Right? And then intrinsic, there are duodenal webs within the lumen, or the lumen simply has stenosis. Again, something congenital, causing partial obstruction. Management, again, surgery. Okay. Any questions before we move on? Tapos na tayo sa esophagogram, tapos na tayo sa upper GI. Barium enema. Barium enema now is the fluoroscopic study for lower intestinal problems. Okay? It is used for evaluation including the distal GI tract or the lower GI tract in neonates. Okay? Now, let me show you these images. So again guys, upper GI series for the upper intestinal segments, the barium enema or contrast enema for the lower intestinal segments. As you can see here, this is the lateral view showing to you the tube that we will use for giving the contrast. We will give the contrast to opacify the rectum and then go into the sigmoid. And until we opacify the entire colon. So these are the images that we are expecting to see in a barium enema or contrast enema. us look at the rectosigmoid ratio. And I would like you to truly remember the importance of a rectosigmoid ratio, because this is the parameter that we will always use to determine presence or absence of lower intestinal obstruction or Hirschsprung in neonates. Sometimes delayed na yung iba, infants, yung ibang nakabayaan, young children. Okay? I would like you to be familiar with the entity Hirschsprung's disease, and this is how we would diagnose it. Look at this image. Contrast introduced into the rectum and then going up. This is the sigmoid, this is the rectum. Without even measuring specifically the diameters of the rectum and the sigmoid, you can plainly see that the rectum is wider than the sigmoid. No problem with that. But what if, when a patient presents with, in the barium enema, smaller rectal wall diameter compared to the sigmoid? This is a perfect example of Hirschsprung's disease. Another image. This is the normal. This is the normal rectal sigmoid morphology appearance. Another patient presenting with constipation, and this is the rectosigmoid relationship. Mas malaki pa yung sigmoid sa rectum. Definitely Hirschsprung. Okay? So, other presentations, other appearance, okay. Hirschsprung patients usually presents with dilated intestinal segments, both small and large. And again, the most common radiologic finding is the reversal of the rectosigmoid ratio. Okay? You have to know that right now. Okay, any questions before we proceed to ultrasound? Ready now? Okay, very good. Ultrasound. Ultrasound used in both pediatrics and adult for examination of the abdominal region. But ultrasound is very good only for solid organs. The liver, the pancreas, the spleen, the kidneys, the uterus, ovaries, prostate. But very poor for evaluating air-filled intestinal segments. Okay? But ultrasound is very useful in the evaluation of hypertrophic pyloric stenosis, appendicitis, and ileocholic intussusception. So those three entities are very important in pediatric radiology because those three entities don't need CT scan, MRI, they need ultrasound. Alright, those three entities. So let's discuss them. Hypertrophic pyloric stenosis. Okay. As the name implies, the pylorus of the stomach would have hypertrophy of its muscle walls, thereby causing obstruction. Presentation of the child, vomiting. Okay? This is the appearance on ultrasound. This is a portion of the stomach, distended stomach, and this is the hypertrophic walls of the pylorus. Okay? In the event that we would give images in the exam, of course, meron namang history. Sabihin natin, 3-month-old infant, previously well, now presents with intractable vomiting. Ultrasound requested, showing this. Diagnose. Alam nyo na, di ba? That's one thing that you should know about radiology. we always ask for the history. We always work together with the clinician, with the surgical team. Okay? Hindi namin titingnan lang yung images and then diagnose. Okay? Again, clinical radiology, that's how we work in our institution. Okay. So hypertrophic pyloric stenosis is a longitudinal channel that has a length that is abnormal if it is more than 17 millimeters. And the thickness of the muscle is more than 4 millimeters. Okay? So those are the objective measurements of the hypertrophic pyloric muscle. Next entity that we can identify on ultrasound, intussusception. Okay. This is how it would look like. Donut-shaped lesion. Now, intussuscipiens is the segment of the intestine that accepts the telescoping segment of another intestine. Okay, the most common location of intussusception is ileocolon. A segment of the ileum goes inside the colon. So ileocolon intussusception. And we can definitely see that 100% sure on ultrasound, and it would appear like this. And then in our institution, in other institutions where there are no pediatric radiologists, once they see that there is intussusception, they call the surgeons and then directly send us a OR. But in our institution, whenever we see intussusception, if it is within 24-hour period, we would reduce it using this materials. We call this air enema. Okay. Just follow the arrow, okay? So this is the X-ray. So on X-ray, you can see there is air in the descending colon, air in the transverse colon. But then it stopped right at the ascending colon. Wala na yung lucency. So definitely you would say there is an obstruction. Baka sabihin nyo, Doktor, baka may mass siya doon. Previously well-child. Then ito ang presentation. So the first thing that should come to mind is intussusception. And let's start here. Okay. So, air enema or reduction of intussusception happens when we introduce air into the rectum, and that would push the intussuscipiens back to its original position. Okay? So, ito yung intussusception. Intussusceptum, itong receiving segment, intussuscipiens. Okay? Push ng air, push, until mag-revert back to its normal position. Na-appreciate ba ninyo? Andito yung intussusception. Binigyan natin ng air. Ayan, binigyan natin ng air. Air is the white part. This is the intussusception. Air pushes the intussusceptum further back to its normal position. Right there. Until nag-revert back to normal. And air is being air filling the rest of the intestinal segments. So no need for surgery. But this is what we do every now and then. Siguro we get this mga 2 to 3 times a year. Okay? So, What is the advantage of using air reduction? It has an 80 to 90% success rate. Pwede rin naman kasi volume reduction or water reduction. But water reduction has high risk for perforation. Perforation with air reduction is limited. Okay? So that's why we always do air reduction. We don't do volume or water reduction. Okay, CTMR for abdomen evaluation in children. Okay, you can read this. The indication for CT scan, for trauma, for infection, for tumor, for bowel obstruction. For MRI, bihira lang. Because the things that we see on CT scan, we will also see on MRI. The disadvantages of using MRI, long scanning time, younger children would need sedation, and motion. Ang mga bata, malikot. They cannot stay still. So that's why it is more common to request for a CT of the abdomen that can be done in 30 seconds rather than do a 30-minute MR of the abdomen. Okay? So, okay guys, I would like you to study basic cross-sectional anatomy. So at this level, in the exam, maybe we would just ask you, there is pain in the right upper quadrant. Name the organ involved. So this is the right side, this is the left side. Of course, the pointed structure might be the liver. Identify it as the organ involved, the liver. Going further down, the liver, adjacent to it is the right kidney, the contralateral, the left kidney, the intestines, right there. Okay? So, a little advice. There are many websites that teaches anatomy on cross-sectional imaging. I'd like you to review them for your exam. Okay? Okay. What is the most common pathology that is being investigated on CT scan? In both children and adults, appendicitis. Okay. So on CT scan, it has a near 100 sensitivity, specificity, and accuracy. But on ultrasound, medyo mas mababa. Because unless the appendix is at the more superficial level, we won't be able to see it on ultrasound. But on CT scan, no matter the position of the appendix, we'll be able to see it. Okay? Next entity, something that we encounter here in the Philippines, TB. TB is a great mimicker. It can affect the CNS, the chest, the lymph nodes, the GIT. And the most common location or the most common GI segment that it affects is the ileal region. Why? Because there are many lymph nodes in the ileal region. So this is the most common site of TB. Ileocecal TB or TB ileitis. Mesenteric adenitis. In children, whenever there are the occasional abdominal pain, it can mimic appendicitis because what if the lymph nodes affected are in the right lower quadrant. So the same area as the appendix. Pero on CT scan, the appendix is normal, but the lymph nodes are enlarged. So, gusto natin yung finding na yun. Because it is manageable medically, not surgically. We call the enlarged lymph nodes at the right lower quadrant, where we can find also the appendix. The entity, the pathologic entity there is diagnosed as mesenteric adenitis. There are a cluster of more than 3 lymph nodes with sizes more than 5 millimeter in short axis diameter. Is this a nice to know or good to know? This is a must know. Okay? And the exam. Epiploic appendicitis. Okay. This is expected for radiology residents, for them to be able to identify. For you, it is good just to, good to know. But again, it could mimic appendicitis, it could mimic mesenteric adenitis based on the location of the fat affected. Nephrolithiasis, ayan, mga masakit pa rin. Kidney stones, okay? And the kidney stones can go down along the course of the ureter, again, causing abdominal pain. So, in summary, evaluation of the pediatric abdomen would require multimodality approaches from X-ray, fluoro, CT, MR, nuclear medicine. Those are for tumors. So that would be a separate discussion. Majority predominantly in the YL3 level. Okay? For now, what's important is that you understand the anatomy. You know how to look at an X-ray. You know when to request an ultrasound and CT scan. Okay? In the examinations, yung mga nadaanan natin, anatomy on X-ray, maybe a little bit on ultrasound and CT scan. So, those are what you need to know. And then, of course, the definition, the indications. I wish you all good luck on your medicine journey. Ang dami-dami mo sabay-sabay lahat ng graduate. Kailangan natin